The Bible is an incredible collection of literature written over the course of a couple thousand years. As followers of Jesus, we believe it to be inspired by God and authoritative for our lives. Yet, let's be honest, it gets pretty weird. The Bible has stories about sea monsters, a guy who ran faster than a chariot, and a prophet who cooked his food over poop. It's got talking snakes, floating hands writing on walls, and people getting turned into salt. It's okay to admit how strange and foreign all of this is to our everyday experience. There are plenty of things that I read that cause me to pause and go, wait, what did they just say? Or even, wait, why is this even in there? Jewish rabbis have a helpful saying, my English paraphrase of it is this, that there is neither excess nor lack in the Tanakh. The Tanakh being the Jewish Bible, or what most of us know as the Old Testament. The saying means that if the Tanakh contains some detail that seems trivial to us, there's a reason it's there. And if the Tanakh does not explain something that we wish it did, it's because we don't need to know. The main thing I want you to appreciate, though, is that all the strange has significance. And when you read weird things, it should make you wonder what's going on, not worry that you've staked your life on the lie. It should spark a curiosity to go deeper and explore what's really being communicated. And so, the third Wednesday of every month, my plan is to help you do just that. We're going to take one weird passage of scripture and attempt to unpack it as best we can. And so, to kind of kick this series off, I figured we'd start with one of my favorites. It's a little disturbing, and it's definitely weird. You can find it in 2 Kings chapter 2. In it, a group of young men mock the prophet Elisha by calling him Baldy, which doesn't seem so bad. I mean, I've certainly been called worse, but Elisha isn't cool with it, and so he curses them, and we read how two bears come out of the woods and maul a bunch of them. So what in the world is going on? Was Elisha just having a bad hair day? Was this divine overreaction, or is there more going on beneath the surface? So let's dig in. Let me read to you the passage starting in verse 23. It says, "From there Elisha went up to Bethel. As he was walking along the road, some boys came out of the town and jeered at him. 'Get out of here, Baldy,' they said. 'Get out of here, Baldy.' He turned around, looked at them, and called down a curse on them in the name of the Lord. Then two bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the boys." At first glance, this sounds like petty name-calling met with savage divine punishment, but let's slow down and look at the context, the language, and the message. First, let's explore where and when this is happening. Elisha is traveling to Bethel, a city that, by this point in Israel's history, had become a hotbed of idolatry and rebellion against God. The story comes immediately after Elijah, Elisha's prophetic mentor, is taken up into heaven. Elisha has just inherited Elijah's mantle, which is when one person's God-given calling or responsibility is passed to another. It's sort of like a passing of the torch. It's a symbolic way of saying, now it's your turn. One leader steps aside and another steps up with God's blessing and purpose resting on them. And so with the passing of Elijah's mantle to Elisha, he is now God's spokesperson to a wayward nation. Now, when the passage refers to boys, your translation might even say small boys or young boys, and your mind might have jumped to a vicious pack of 5-year-olds. But the Hebrew term used here is na'ar, which refers to youths or young men, often anywhere from 12 to 30 years old. It's the same word used for Joseph at age 17 in Genesis 37, or David when he fought Goliath in 1 Samuel 17, and Solomon when he became king in 1 Kings chapter 3. So this isn't a group of little kids. It's most likely a mob of young men, possibly even an organized gang. And there are at least 42 of them. This is a large, hostile crowd. Now, let's talk about the insult. A more accurate translation of the insult is, "Go up, you bald head," which sounds pretty light, like I've never heard someone shout that in a moment of road rage. And so what's behind the insult? Well, "go up" is likely a mocking reference to Elijah's recent ascension into heaven. They're taunting Elisha. They're basically saying, why don't you disappear like your mentor did? And bald head isn't just about hairstyle. In that culture, baldness was often associated with shame, leprosy, or even cursing. Some scholars wager it may have even been a deliberate insult toward Elisha's authority as a prophet, suggesting that he was unclean, unfit, or rejected by God. And so this wasn't just playground name calling, it was a public rejection of God's prophet, and by extension, a rejection of God himself. Now, what about the bears? Well, Elisha doesn't summon the bears like a wizard, as cool as that would have been. He pronounces a curse in the name of the Lord, meaning he leaves the situation in God's hands. What we read next is that two female bears maul 42 of the young men. To clarify, it doesn't say that they were all killed, it says that they were mauled, which could mean injured or scattered in terror. Some Jewish scholars believe even the number 42 is symbolic, pointing to a large and deliberate act of divine judgment. But But why such harsh judgment? Because this event isn't just about Elisha, it's about the people's attitude towards God. In mocking Elisha, they're rejecting God's voice during a time of deep national rebellion. In Old Testament law, rejecting a prophet was a serious offense. The bear attack is a dramatic warning to Israel to take God's message seriously. And so, yeah, the story is intense, it's strange, and it might even make you uncomfortable. But when we understand the historical setting, the language, and the spiritual meaning, we see it for what it is. It's not a petty overreaction, but a sobering wake-up call. The message of the story is that God's voice matters, His messengers matter, and His holiness matters. And in a world that still mocks truth, maybe this ancient story speaks louder than we thought.